In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to master tire wear within F1 2025. First of all, starting out with the tire pressure within the car setup of the game before we go out on track, and then explain how the tires are interacting with the surface of the road and how you can do your job to be improving your tire deg over the course of a race. First of all, though, speaking about tire pressures within the car setup, if you're driving time trial and you do not have tire temperatures enabled within that mode, then you could put your tire pressures closer to minimum, if not at minimum, and find quite unique advantages to do so. Simply because the softer tire pressure means that you have better traction, although it will cost you a bit of high-speed stability, as of course the tire is softer and is more susceptible to moving around in the high-speed corners. And the opposite is true when you put the tire pressure to the maximum. You'll have less traction in time trial, but you'll have more stability at the high-speed corners. Where it's quite unique, though, when you do enable tire temperature mode, I should say, when you're in career mode, GP mode, online races as well, is it's always better to go maximum pressure, in my opinion. The reason for this is the tires overheat so quickly on the F1 2025 game that if you are not on the maximum pressure, you maybe will find an advantage very briefly for a few corners, maybe even a lap. But after that, you're going to suffer with the tires starting to overheat and lose a lot of grip as a natural result of that. Sometimes on some circuits, such as Bahrain with a hard compound tire, you can be running maximum tire pressure, but that will mean that you get the tire was indicated blue, and that is going to say that it's under the temperature window. What is true, to be honest, but from the test and understanding that I've done, when you've removed the front tire pressure, it makes the front tires incredibly unstable and really difficult to drive. So in all of my tests so far, it's better to have maximum tire pressure. Although the tire will be slightly under temperature, it will bring better overall driving stability and grip potential to maximize over your racing stint. So that's tire pressure covered, and that's sort of a basic introduction. I always prefer to go maximum tire pressure and will be helping my tire deg over the stint. As you can see now, we are in a race here, and I'm going to be showing you with live examples on how I could be affecting my tire deg, explaining the surface temperature of the tires. As you can see right now on the right hand side with the MFD, we have the tire temperatures enabled. The tire temperature at the top of the screen higher is going to be your surface temperature. As you can see now, we're in a race, and I'm going to be explaining in live detail about how I can affect my tire deg and how it's working and interacting with the surface of the road. So when you look over to the right hand side of your screen, of course you see the temperature panel. You have two indications of tire temperature on the F1 2025 game. You have the surface temperature, and then you also have the carcass temperature. The carcass temperature is a number higher up on the screen, or also indicated where the solid green circle is, and then the surface temperature is the one that fluctuates much higher. And as you can see, the tires are going much higher on the surface temperature as we're going through the high-speed corners of Maccas and Beckett's here at Silverstone, as we understeer off the circuit. Far from ideal. Anyway, we're going to let the AI go through right now, so then we can have a bit of clear track to sort of break down and talk to you about how the surface temperature is interacting and working with the tire deg of the brand new Formula 1 game. So of course, there's very little you can actually do about the surface temperature because it's so exaggerated, the friction and also the load that you're putting into the tire when driving around the track. I could be driving normally, and even through this final corner here at Silverstone that's easily flat out, you can see the surface temperature peaked all the way up close to 90 degrees. Through turn 1, it's already at 93 degrees, and then through the braking zone, it's fairly stable, doesn't really increase because you're not sliding the tyre. Then going through the first section of corners, you can see it goes up to 90, actually goes up to 101 degrees before we spun on the exit there on the front right. Of course, my little spin there did have a natural result to the front right tyre temperature. The front right surface temperature and the surface temperature of all tyres, I should say, is a direct correlation to how much tyre wear you're going to be getting within the F1 2025 video game. And if you can keep the surface temperature lower, then you're going to have a better result for your tyre deg. This is where I think a lot of people make a mistake. they go into high-speed corners and they sort of slide the tyre over the surface, as you can see, going up to 160 degrees there. We're going to recreate that test with Mags and Beckett and be aggressive with our steering wheel inputs. You can see the front tyre temperature is causing massive front tyre wear, and we've increased something like 5% of tyre wear with that 1/6 of corners alone, just by over-exaggerating that front surface temperature. And that's really what you have to be managing to ensure that you can keep the tyre temperature lower, is looking after that surface temp. So now we're going to bring back that menu, as you can see on the right hand side now. It is indicated back that we have the surface temperature enabled, and I'm going to be a lot smoother with my driving this time around. So we're going to cut back to Mags and Beckett on this lap, and we're going to do the test again. So you can see we're arriving back to Mags and Beckett on the following lap here at Silverstone. We have got 20% on the front left tyre deg, and remember, we gained something like 5% through the secret corners last time around. We're going to push, but you're going to see we're just going to be very smooth on our steering wheel inputs, not increasing the front surface temperature of the tyre, and instead of having 5% tyre deg, we only had 2% tyre deg going through this example. And as you can see, we're pushing relatively hard on that lap example going through right now, and it just plays out time over time over time again, that if you can keep the surface temperature lower, that is a direct correlation to how good your tyre wear can be. And this is why some people, your friend groups, rivals, F1 sim racing drivers or league racing drivers alike, why some people can be managing their tyres better than other people, and this is a lot of what F1 sim racing drivers are managing when out on their race, out on track, to be getting better tyre wear. You're going to sometimes hear drivers speak, or team engineers speak, about trying to get better tyre deg over the course of a stint, and a lot of that tyre deg is being managed by controlling the surface temperature of the tyre. The next segment of this video is going to be about the carcass temperature of the tyre and how it's going to be affecting your grip and also affecting your tyre deg over the course of a stint. So if you look to the right hand side, it's going to be the number that is next to the solid green circle, or you could also see it as a number that is moving around and fluctuating less than the other number on the screen, what is of course the surface temperature, as we covered previously in this video. At the moment, my front left tyre carcass temperature is going to be at 93 degrees, and then my rear left is going to be at 97 degrees, 98 now, as it's just gone up as we're on the straight. Much like real life, you have operating windows for the tyres, and that can be affecting the grip that you have. This is just a random number, so take it with a pinch of salt. Hypothetically, if my tyre carcass temperature was at 85 degrees, this could hypothetically provide 100% of the grip of the tyre available to me to use, and this could be the optimal temperature to be driving at with the tyre. Maybe that would mean that 97 degrees that we're currently at, 96 on the rear left tyre that we're currently at in this race right now, could maybe provide 97% of the total grip available from the tyre. So that can give you an idea on how overheating or underheating the tyre can be affecting your total grip percentage and what you can get out of the tyre when out on track. There's very little you can do to control this, to be honest. So if you're driving within 1 second of your optimal pace, you're not really going to have a scope to be changing more than 2 degrees of your carcass temperature. Ideally, I could bring down my rear tyres to about 90 degrees right now, what would be roughly around the operating window from what I understand and what the information I have anyway. But as you can see, me driving at full pace right now is instantly bringing up my rear left tyre carcass temperature to 101 degrees, and there's very little I can do about it if I want to stay within 1 second of the operating pace. Of course, in a league race, you can't afford to go slower than you need to be going, and you pretty much have to be pushing all the way around as we're getting a big snap of oversteer, showing how also overheating the rear tyres can be having a negative effect on grip. But yeah, as I was saying, you have to pretty much be going at your optimal pace constantly to even have a chance of being in the top 10, let alone winning. So there's very little you can be doing about the carcass temperature in this situation, and you basically just have to drive with what you've got and be maximizing it to minimize the chance of overheating the surface tire of the tire, and that's really what's going to be controlling your tire temperature. And this is why we go back to the point I made at the start of the video about the tire PSI in the car setup. I have maximum tire PSI right now in my car setup, and I'm still overheating all of my tires, and this is why you do not want to go anywhere lower than maximum PSI in a racing situation. Otherwise it will just compromise you way too much as the rest of the race goes on. You can see my front left is overheating, my rear left is overheating, and then also on my right, my front right is actually at a decent temperature. That's because we barely use it, and like I alluded to earlier, I really don't want to be uneven on my tire pressures and take away front tire PSI either, because it makes the handling of the car like a dog and like a boat, and it's just really unpleasant to be driving, and you lose more time from the car instability than you would gain from getting that tire closer to its operating window. And then my rear right tire is also beginning to overheat as well. So, like I say, if you want to be driving within the optimal window of your pace, there's very little you can be doing to be getting better tire...
Okay, information on science. Right, they've got a serious car issue. It looks like they're retiring.
Didn't ask engineer, but unlucky for Science. Anyway, Science is going to have much better tyre wear now because he's out of the race, so he wouldn't be using his tyres. Thank you very much. Cheers. See you later, buddy. Back to the point. So now we are back, and I've turned off my engineer because he kept on interrupting me when trying to do this final part of the video, and it was really getting underneath my skin. So, sorry Mark, Jeff, whatever your name is, my apologies. We're going to be keeping you on mute for the remainder of the video. Getting back to the point that we was talking about, the only real way you can be managing your tyre wear within F1 2025 is by putting your tyre pressure to maximum in the car setup panel before going to the race, and additionally driving smoothly so then your surface temperature is going as low as possible, especially in high-speed corners. If you can just drive smoothly and not be sliding your front surface temperature or your rear surface temperature over the road like we're doing right now, then you can be keeping your tyre temperatures lower, and this will be having a good effect to your next tyre deg. So just to repeat that point, drive as smoothly as possible, try not to slide the surface of the tyre over the road, and then you'll be in a really good place with your tyre deg, and you can be managing it as good as possible, and then that'll be your way to having superior tyre wear over your opponents and rivals, or maybe just even in career mode races and having a better chance to compete against the harder AI. With that being said, I've been Brendon Leigh. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you, informative to you, and can allow you to gain confidence and enjoy the F1 game a step even more. So, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Grazie, ciao ciao, bye bye.